Hey, you're on.
Hello, Deb. Do you hear me?
I can hear you. This is amazing.
All right, fantastic. Hang on a second. Let me get the YouTube thing going on here closed so we don't get the echo.
Mm.
There we go. That's better.
Hey, this is pretty good considering this is my first try.
Yeah, not too bad, man. Google is a wonderful thing.
It certainly is. How did your day go today?
Smug is my answer to that question. It's the
Oh,
theme
I
of the
forgot to.
the theme of the week has been the smug phase.
Yes, indeed. Do you have your monster drink set and ready to go?
Let's see, I got an yeah. I don't know if you saw the. I got my Monster. I got my Amp. I got my Red Bull. I switched from drinking Red Bull to Monster, and all of a sudden, Monster stock's up like 200%. I said, it's official. I drink that much caffeine. One guy can move the market.
One guy. Oh, that's another great hashtag. One guy can move the markets.
Like, yeah, it's like, who moved the energy drink stock 200%? This guy.
That would be
This
you.
guy.
All right. Well, we've got already a bunch of people in the chat room, so that's good too. I guess people actually do listen to Twitter.
What can I say? Evolution Consulting's a huge draw, man.
Oh, yeah. Well, let's talk about that. You know, it has been amazingly accurate what has happened. I mean, even just within the last 48 hours. Do you want to open up by giving us a 101 on what makes Evo 4.0 so gosh darn accurate?
Even I'm starting to wonder at this point, quite
Mm-hmm.
honestly. I mean, the reality of the situation is, I mean, 2 or 3 weeks prior to the election, now we called the Trump win 8 months ago. Okay, and we said it had very little to do with democracy and everything to do with social engineering and social architecture. I guess we'll talk a little bit about that later. But the linguistics and the patterns that we've seen leading up to this election, I've never seen something so clear before, which is why, I pretty much risked the reputation. There was really no risk involved in the whole system 8 months ago going, yep, Trump's going to win. So how do you like that? And then kind of gave the details surrounding it. I mean, I usually include you on a lot of the tweets. And
Mm-hmm.
what I thought was really interesting is we watched the whole forecast play out in 12 hours.
Yeah.
I mean, just down to the market reaction. I mean, the Dow was down 900 points, and you had gold up $50, and then yesterday and today you got the Trump protests. And I'm just sitting back going like, this is my own system, and it's starting to really scare the hell out of me. It's that accurate. It really is. And based upon what we've seen and in the research that we've done, it's everything's going according to plan. And I have, I go
Mm-hmm.
back and I look at, obviously, you remember my test of concept work, haha. I go back and I look at some of that and I go, what the hell did I build here? Really, that's what it comes down to. It's I built something that's smart, a hell of a lot smarter than I am.
Mm.
And I mean, just, and again, that's why, obviously, I'm usually not short on humor. But, you look at just the last 48 hours and it's like, oh, God, it's happening. Really, that's what it comes down to. It
Yeah.
is, oh, God, it's happening. And it's just all the stuff that we forecasted for the last number of months. I mean, you can go on the Evolution YouTube channel. You'll see, a smug guy sitting there, months ago saying Trump is going to win, and how do you like that? And that's just the end of it. And I watched the election results, and I actually didn't watch the state polls. I just watched the gold chart.
Right.
And when I started seeing it moving in $10 increments, I went, that's it. He won. I turned it on, and it says Trump won the state of Florida. Trump won the state of. I go, that's it. It's over. And there is something kind of fitting as to the fact that it was Pennsylvania that put him over the top, Evolution Consulting's home state.
Yes, I was going to mention that to you. I thought, oh, the last state coming in, it's his state.
Yep. It was, then I'm kind of smiled. I said, the adopted home state of Pennsylvania. And they reported it. And I went, there it is. I go, there's something poetic about that.
Yes, it was. Do you ever feel a little bit like Frankenstein?
No, not particularly. No, not at all. I feel like a guy that worked hard enough and determined enough and smart enough, and enough people told me what I couldn't do. You know, that I ended up building this program, and I'm not one to be satisfied with good enough or you know, just enough is good enough, that kind of thing. And it's just the last number of months. I mean, we have a meticulously organized, and I have to put them up. I've been somewhat lazy. Proven forecasts. I mean, after a year, you go back and you look at that proven forecast page, and it just, I mean, I'll run them, you know, just the ones off the top of my head. Brexit, called it. Election, called it. No rate hikes all this year from the Fed, called it. I mean, just, you know, some of the equities that we picked, Taser and, you know, U.S. Concrete, we picked as a play in advance of Trump winning, saying that's, you know, the plant down in Irvine is the only one that's big enough to USCR plant to help build his wall. And all of a sudden I'm looking at a chart right now and it's, you know, 10%. It's just the list of proven forecasts have just, it's just been so long. It's like, what the hell did I build here?
I know. Well, yeah, and what I was noticing even this morning and yesterday, the number of tweets coming out that were not just reflecting what you had predicted, but using the exact same language, the same words in their announcements.
It's become that accurate. I mean, and that's the stuff that I look at.
Yeah.
Oh, you got to be kidding me, right? And like I said, I mean, I was fairly reserved election night. I mean, I didn't even have a bottle of gin with me, just out of precaution. I was like, you know, step away from the Twitter for a little bit, right? But I just kind of sat there with my 20-ounce Red Bull and watched the whole thing unfold, and I was just. It was just awe-inspiring, you know, for me as a program. And obviously on behalf of the rest of the dev team, I made a few phone calls to the development team. I was like, guys, you know, I got to put this any other way. It's like, whatever it is that we're doing, we are doing it right.
Right.
A little bit that you know, we called it the way we did. And they were just like, my God, Nick, like you know, it comes down as much to, you know, credit where it's due. It comes down to the translation of the data. But yeah, when you start seeing, you know, the exact linguistics being used, I mean, word for word.
Yes.
That's when even I have to step back and go, oh, that's freaky.
Yeah. Yes, it was. Well, it's a powerful tool. And, of course, that means that you must feel not must, but you feel some accountability, or not like, I don't want to say accountability, but you're humbled in the face of this power.
It is, you know, for me to see what I built work as well as it has consistently. I mean, guys, it's one thing to, you know, kind of turn around and go, you know, you get one right. And it's like, oh, look what we built. You know, that doesn't make a forecasting system. When I go back now and I look at all the proven forecasts just in 1 year, it's I don't know how to put it any other way. It's unhumbling. It's just awe-inspiring of, you know, just how really terrifyingly accurate the programs become. And, you know, I like to think we have a fairly unique delivery style and way of sharing the information, of course. I mean, you know, just because the the information we research is serious doesn't mean we have to be all the time. You know, but it is very wild for me to see it as consistently accurate and as you said it yourself, which is just you know, when you start seeing almost exact sentences forecast from 8 months ago, you're like, wow.
Oh.
And this is, and I'll be very forward. I mean, you know, obviously when I first started doing this publicly, I had no idea if it was going to work, you know, and it is what it is. And it was just like, you know, I didn't know. I had no idea if it was going to work or not. And so moving forward now, the way we're cataloging all the proven correct forecasts, I was very forward in saying that this wasn't built to do this kind of stuff, you know, the information sharing and everything. So this is just a bit of another test of concept phase for us. So really now this is proof of concept. I mean, anybody with half a brain that's going to look at that record, they're going to go, whatever they're doing it right. And that includes me, where I'm just like, you know, wow. But yeah, it's been wild.
And I would guess that it explains how it is that you have new clients where you will be kind of hidden away from us on Twitter for a while, after a while.
I will be, yeah, it's, you know, and again, like I said, the secret to being an overnight success is psychotic mechanical determination. There's my answer to that. You know, it's, we put the effort in. That's what it comes down to. We put the effort in. I mean, I don't know how many gallons of Red Bull or how many tanker trucks full of Red Bull or how many cartons of cigarettes, but we put the effort in. We built it. We refined it, and then we refined it some more, and then just enough wasn't good enough, so we refined it again and again and again. And I mean, if I had my way about it, I would just perpetually refine the program and never really put it out for applicable use. But it's the Stephen Jobs complex of where you get to a certain point where it's like, we're going to turn this thing loose, and then we're going to refine it on the fly. We're going to obviously let it adapt to whatever environment that it's going to be used and be that financer. I mean, that's one of the cool things about the program. It's just so easily adaptable. It's so ridiculously flexible, that you can apply it to so many different things. And the people have asked me to go, what'd you build the program for? It's like, well, but you tell me. You tell me a business where having advanced in knowledge of near guaranteed outcomes is an advantage, and I'll show you a business that'll probably be applicable to. So, and it's certainly not arrogance. I mean, I have a unique delivery style. I have, some people say it's like an over the top of the head with a baseball bat delivery style, and it's just, no, I'm going to tell you the way it is. And part of me, the part of what I'm doing is, if you walk up to somebody on the street and you say, I built a program that's 90% accurate, they're going to go, you're out of your mind. But when you do that and you have a laundry list of proven forecasts that have been third-party time stamped, all of a sudden it's like, okay. And you have to put that time in if you're going to build a program like that and, prove the point, so to speak. And, from beyond that, it was just a matter of, so if I have to do this kind of proof of concept, test of concept, so I'm going to have fun.
Yeah.
Because admitted, I have a dark sense of humor, and I believe I really enjoy this stuff. And if you can imagine, people in my past have told me I was boring. Yikes.
Oh, God.
What a thing. Boring in that multiple chain reaction atomic explosion kind of way? Like, what do we mean by boring?
Yeah. I've heard people describe you many ways, but I've never heard the word boring in that.
Yeah. I told people, you're into this whole political stuff, geopolitics. That's just so boring. And I went, is it?
Really?
Is it?
Yeah, if you've been watching mainstream media, yes, that was their intention, to dull you, dumb you down.
Oh, it's at this point, people ask me why I don't watch any entertainment television. I've got 2 programs that I watch, and I go, let me ask you this question. I said, is there anything going on right now, entertainment-wise, that's more entertaining than reality? When the news becomes more entertaining than entertainment, because it is stuff that's really happening, why would I want to watch? I mean, I watched The Walking Dead, and I watched the old Top Gear, and Grand Tour is going to be out on Amazon. That's the extent of my entertainment. Beyond that, it's like you turn on the news and go, oh, that's reality. That's what makes it more entertaining.
When Putin won, that was
Freudian
a Freudian slip. When Trump won, one of my first thoughts was, how much money would I pay to get a ticket to the first meeting between these 2 guys as they sit across the table in their first negotiation?
My buddy and me. That's all I can think of. That's going to be a mutual adoration society. That's going to be, and I talked to the esteemed assistant about that. She's like, who's doing backflips right now? Somewhere in the Kremlin. Who's Putin? I go, yep. I said, almost makes you wonder who's responsible for this election.
But and that
called.
Became abundantly clear, right? With his first statement that came out, it was clear that, and that brings us to my next topic. People on Twitter see us use the phrase "the new management team" a lot. Why don't you tell the good folks out there what that is?
Of what I'm willing to comment on that, and I don't share, a lot of the deep level stuff. If you guys are really interested in that. I've spoken with the dev team, and we're going to keep doing Wirehouse at least until January 1st. That's where we're going to share that really deep level social engineering stuff. I've done that in the alt news community, that on I don't know how many different shows, and became very disenfranchised because there's what's going on, guys, and then there's the crap you want to hear. Okay? The crap you want to hear, there is plenty of sources for that. I'm not one of them. All right? So the point of the story with the new management team, what I am willing to say is that it is a product of something called speed of information. Okay, and I mentioned at the very beginning of this, we saw basically an entire evolution forecast reaction to the election play out in 12 hours. All right, before I talk about the new management, I want to talk about something called what I now have affectionately dubbed the Super Bowl effect. Okay. And the Super Bowl effect is a byproduct of something called speed of information, which is ostensibly the greatest variable that the human race has experienced in I mean, the last several hundred years. I mean, it's up there with the telephone and the transcontinental railroad. But I mean, in terms of an omnipresent variable, okay, the speed of information and the speed to which people can react to information and the amount of people that have access to that information in which to react to over the last 20 years has increased by multiples. Okay, so we see what happened on election night, which was the market was down. Just keep this in mind for a second. Gold ran with $80 total range in one day. The market ran almost 1,000 points up, down, just range. Okay, on the Dow side, and that happened in less than 12 hours. Okay, so what I call now the Super Bowl effect is that the speed of information has just reached such a pace and reached such a crescendo and reached such a speed that it's almost like events now happen in fast forward. And the reason I call it the Super Bowl effect is it's like reality hasn't set in yet. You know, spoiler alert, you guys just elected Donald Trump. That wasn't like election night isn't like the Super Bowl where there's like a win and then there's a parade and then it's all over. You know, it's like reality just hadn't set in yet that it's like, that's the president for the next 4 years. So you saw this wild market swing, this wild market reaction as the result of the speed of information and as the result of, people's ability to react. I mean, at one point I actually made a phone call. I had a call with a friend of mine. I go, are those NASDAQ futures really halted in trading? He's like, have a nice night, dude. I was like, all right. You know, but the speed of information and the speed of the reaction, okay, and now it's like, we now return you to your regularly scheduled program already in progress. It's like, not quite. You know, you just elected Donald Trump as your president. You know, that really did just happen. And that's not like, you know, the Cubs won the World Series and, hey, okay, everybody go back to work. You know, that is a major, major, major shift in terms of what's going on and, you know, geopolitically on a global level, which brings us to the new management team. Okay.
Right.
The new management team is a byproduct of that speed of information component. All right. And, you know, I've talked openly on Twitter and on other shows and stuff. And I know the more devout right now will probably have an aneurysms as I mentioned this, but, you know, the unified global metals backed currency, that is one component of a new management team. Okay. I don't know how to put that. That's just one of the, you know, the things that they're going to be responsible for. But you look again, why a unified global one world currency? I know, right? You know, why that? Look at this. You know, we are a global society. Deal with it. I know the G word, right? You say that, you know, and it's you know, all of a sudden people start thinking New World Order and stuff like that, and they go full Orwell on you.
Yeah.
You know. But the speed of information, guys, let me explain something. You're complaining about globalism on the internet is right up there with running away from the cops, you know, and complaining about corporations at a protest and a pair of Nike shoes while writing about it on Twitter. All right? Spoiler alert. Okay? We're all globalists. Deal with it. Okay? If you're on the internet complaining about globalism, you're a globalist. Shut up. That's what I have to say about that.
I'm glad you brought that up because I see that people misuse the word globalist and they assume that since Putin is, you know, against this establishment or, you know, that he's anti-globalism, and that's not true at all. He is very much a globalist because he wants to do business with the globe.
Yes. Spoiler alert. Every economy is now so interconnected with the other that there is only one economy, the global economy. And that's why, I mean, I laugh, and I mean, I'm not going to mention them by name, but there are those out there that go, oh, those globalists, oh, those globalists. It's like, dude, you're on the internet complaining about globalism. You can just shut your pie up. All right. You know, that's just, like I said, I equate that to running away. You know, you got the college kids out there that are running away from the cops going, yeah, down with corporations. It's like, yeah, dude, on your Nokia phone and with your Nike sneakers. It's like, give me a break. All right. Your services are no longer needed.
For people listening, the more accurate words to use is to realize we have just gone from being a unipolar world to a multipolar world.
Sure. Absolutely. No, 100%. I mean, I have my sarcastic and dark delivery style, but, you know, the reality of the situation is we are moving to a global economy, and technology is the number one catalyst for that. All right. And in the interest of, you know, and you can see it in nature and you can see it in a lot of other systems, there is a phrase out there that's often associated with the so-called New World Order, right? It says out of chaos comes order. Well, guess what? That's how it works in the nonlinear sense, in nature, in all systems. Okay. Chaos in the, which again is, I know people use that word with a negative connotation. Oh,
Right.
it's chaos. Well, you look in nature, look in nonlinear systems, look in any even space, as vague a term as that might be, but even the cosmos, you look, and that is how it works. It's the only force that is singular in nature, in that it optimizes systems for the sake of the longevity and the sustainability and the survivability of the system. So the force is, it's singular in nature. But in terms of global economics, well, guess what? We have a world now where trade can be enacted in push of a button. I often joke around and I say, 20 years ago, you couldn't open up your phone, pop open your Scottrade account, and make a trade in 5 seconds on information. So that's a dramatic variable increase. That's speed of information increasing. So as a result of that, why not a global one world currency? Why not a unified system of economics? The world is not physically, but metaphorically becoming a smaller place. All right. And you can even look to say, well, how long are you going to get away with using money to enact, or the value thereof to enact trade policy? Take that out of the equation. You can have your trade policy, but money is money, gold and silver. Isn't that nice? And then you have whatever trade policy you want. And that is a leveling of the playing field in the interest of the advancement of the species and society. And that's where, when I speak from that social architecture and that social engineering perspective, that's why I reference the new management team, because there is apparently a group out there that's figured that out. And then, and anybody that's got anything to say about it is going to regret it. I have a funny suspicion, because it's full steam ahead.
Right. Okay, speaking of full steam ahead, what would you like to talk about next with respect to financial predictions? I don't want to say prediction necessarily, but what should we be looking for, or what can we get into or prepare for?
Well, what I'm looking at now is, I look at gold down now, back around the 1250 some odd range. I don't have it in front of me. I'm looking at JNUG. Both NUGT and JNUG took about a 20% haircut today, which is nasty. But it goes back to short attention span theaters. Like, you just elected a president, okay, that in one day, and I just said this to one of our customers. I go, we elected a president that in one day can move gold $1,000. Fact. Did you forget that? Or did you forget the fact that Brazil, Russia, China, India, South Africa? Did you forget the fact that they're still stockpiling gold at record rates? What do you suppose they're doing that for? Is it because they're bored? And I watch this, and because every once in a while I have somebody ask me, and I'm very thankful. The Evolution customers, they're absolutely awesome, and they understand exactly what's going on. But in terms of, like, I look today and they're like, aren't you a little concerned about, like, gold down 20%? It's like, no. No. And Trump, as far as I can tell, and again, when speaking of, one thing I do want to mention before I mention financial predictions, which I thought was quite comical, is when Putin could be behind Trump's campaign thing.
Yeah.
I almost fell out of my chair laughing. You were the first person, believe it or not. It was like, @Bankster Slayer, and a nice big hashtag, because we called that one in advance too. But Trump, to me, represents that new management team in the United States. Okay.
Right.
And now that he has been installed as president, that's why we called it. He said, you put that much money behind somebody to be successful, they damn well better be successful. But, for him to turn around and now say, we're going to go back to the U.S. dollar again, that is not that far outside the realm of plausibility, and something that's almost expected from him. We thought he was going to unleash that during the debate. We were incorrect. He didn't mention it, just because it turned into a big slugfest with Hillary, which I think she realized too late that she got sent to the lions with him. But the fact of the matter is, moving forward in terms of financial predictions or financial forecasting, guys, every time you have the opportunity, buy the precious metals, either physically good delivered, or if you want to make the trade on it, you go with the ETFs, you go with the ETNs, guys, and just leverage the fact that gold will, within the near term, okay, that is the new system. Gold and silver is the new system. Bitcoin guys that are out there. We called a Bitcoin rally a couple of editions of Switch and Signal ago, and that was when it was down in the high fives and low sixes, and we said now would be good, and we're talking over 7 now, because that's just really, the way to short all the fiat currencies. That's what I use Bitcoin as. I don't pretend it's money, but I use it kind of as a the purpose of Bitcoin is very simple. Number one, it's the ultimate pump and dump scam. And number two, I said it's the handiest, dandiest way for the, even the wealthy to launder money, during the GER. It just happens to be a very convenient system in which to do that. But as far as the speculations that are out there, we have our chaos portfolio, buy more guns. And you tweeted me a couple of, examples of like gun sales are going through the roof. And the funny thing is now, like, I'll give you an example of connecting economics to social engineering. Okay. We look at Smith & Wesson and Ruger, and they're both down pretty significant today, 8 and 12% respectively. It's like, how long do you think that's going to last? Because they say, oh, well, Trump is Second Amendment friendly. He's Second Amendment friendly. We don't have to worry about him taking our guns away. How long until now these protests turn Trump supporters into, we have to defend our president, and all of a sudden gun sales go back to the ceiling, and it's, I'm sure in another week or two I'll be hashtagging told you so to you for that. But that's how we've been so accurate, to be quite honest with you, is we don't trade technicals, because that's shoot arrow, paint bullseye. We don't Japanese candlesticking, it's shoot arrow, paint bullseye. When you trade from a social engineering and a social architecture perspective, you do tend to get the level of accuracy you've seen from 4.0. And again, I'm in awe of it, but that's how we do what we do. But, moving forward, gold, physically good delivered, that's going to be your purchasing power. Okay. If you want to convert more paper into more paper, trade the ETFs. You got to understand, if you do it on a triple leverage, there are going to be those days where, like, I'm looking at 21% on the downside now. And I can do that with a smile on my face and laugh my ass off about it, because I don't know how to put it any other way other than it's inevitable. Okay. That is the new system. Okay. But beyond that, I trade the chaos, the Smith & Wesson, Taser, Strum, Rugers, if morons all want to kill each other, it's my right to make a buck off of it.
Speaking of the GER, the Global Economic Reset, is there anything you can tell us, and I know there's things you talk about, but will the Federal Reserve notes be retired?
Oh yeah. That's a
and when?
Sooner, probably, rather than later. No, the reality is, people have asked me that question before, and they say, will the U.S. dollar survive this? Probably not. And as bold a prediction as that is to make, and as bold a forecast as that is to make, will it survive in terms of, the currency used in North America, for instance? Will it still be called a dollar? Yes. Okay. Will it be, in terms of economics and financial mechanics, what it is now? Absolutely not. Okay. So what it may look like, I have no idea. So I know people after they say, oh, it's going to look like this, it's going to be the Amero, it's going to be that or that. No, it's not. I don't know. I honestly don't know. I don't have an answer to that question. But in terms of the functionality of currency in the geographic contiguous United States, will it still be referred to as a dollar? Probably. Will it be based on a global system? Probably. Just like every other currency that's out there. Once you peg it to gold, okay, and that's, we can spend the next, we're coming up on 20 minutes, but we can spend the next 5 hours and talking about how the SGE is engineering that very system right out in broad daylight and basically calling its own play-by-play while it's doing it. But in terms of the U.S. dollar and Treasury notes, no, that's all going away. That's all going away. You don't need it. You don't need a Federal Reserve, when you have a unified one world currency. So think about that.
Oh yeah. See, that runs really parallel with stuff that Jim Rickards has been talking about. And you mentioned Rob Kirby. I think it was you. Yeah. And which is interesting because Rob Kirby, he hates talking about Jim Rickards. And yet both of them are both offering points of view that are kind of converging with each other.
Yeah. And then I go back and I look at the stuff that we did from 2014 and it's like, yep. 2013, 2014. But the deal is, I know, Rickards called, on the day that the Yuan SDR and 4 o'clock on Friday, this day, it's all going to hell in a handbasket. I went, not quite yet. No.
And that isn't exactly what he said. What he meant was, on that day when China was admitted into the basket, that was an earth-changing moment, whether anyone noticed it or not. It was.
Oh, for sure. Absolutely. And credit where it's due. V, all right, used the phrase, he's the first guy I ever heard use the phrase Trojan Yuan.
Oh, yeah.
Okay. And what makes me laugh and how obvious it is, which is why I said sometimes what's really going on, it just happens to hide right out in broad daylight. So let's say I'm the Chinese, right? Now I theoretically have enough gold to either partially or completely metals back my float of Chinese yuan. If I do that, what happens to the other 5 currencies in that SDR basket? They become rolling papers is what they become. Okay? At the end of the day, I said the Chinese, and I put this in a Wirehouse edition over a year ago. I said the Chinese have 3 options: go big, go bigger, or go huge. And in the true spirit of Donald Trump in this election day, I think they're choosing to go huge, which is through the AIIB. All right,
right.
You don't have to be an economist to figure this out. Through the AIIB, what they're going to do is they're going to turn around and back all, whatever partner nations, founder nations that they have. They go, all right, guys, that's all your currencies there. We're going to peg that to the yuan. Change the status of the Chinese yuan and the SDR. Okay, metals backing it does, but they'll peg all those currencies to the Chinese yuan in some form or another. And I'm not talking about just BRICS. Obviously, the partner nations, including Japan, called it. And then they can turn around and metals back the yuan. Because at that point, if they lose their world reserve status currency, it's an SDR node or whatever, who cares? One currency is metals backed, and ostensibly all the partner nations by default will be metals backed, and the other 5 are not. So there's that. And that's really what it comes down to. As far as how smooth is the transition going to be, I can't say that now. I have no idea. That's a lot of research to do, but there are certainly, I will say this, there are certainly some effects or side effects of a global economic reset that are, shall we say, necessary. And, even if it could be as simple as the push of a button, it's not going to be. All right. And there's a reason. All right. But that's kind of where we're at now. And it's really, and I've been, people have asked me, they go, yeah, but your approach to investing, your approach to trading is so stupidly simple. And I go, well, yeah, because it's worked for the last several thousand years. If you go back and look historically, we're not really suggesting anything, obviously evolution 4.0 for the time, but we're not suggesting anything that hasn't made families that are household names wealthy, over the last several hundred years, several thousand years, really. And you don't have to, economics and finance, to me, it just looks complicated. When you boil it down to its very basic premises, well, everything really is a transaction. There's got to be a buyer and there's got to be a seller. And there's got to, when you look at it that way and you kind of look at what's going on at a social level and you compare it to what's going on economically, it becomes pretty obvious.
Right. Anything else you wanted to mention about the global rejection of the U.S. Treasury?
Oh, you knew that was coming.
Well, yeah.
I'm not the only one that's called that. Let's face it, right? I know I have my smug side every once in a while, but let's not pretend for a minute I'm the first person to say, "Hey, that's going to happen." Once again, credit where it's due. The guys in Rogue Money, and obviously, beyond them as well. But of course, it's being done on purpose. Okay. Right. And as I said, this election was just a glaring example of before you're going to engineer a new system, you have to get rid of the old one. Okay. Right. And what Trump did, just as an example, talk about treasuries, what Trump did is notice throughout the Republican primary process, he didn't win. I'm going to use a gamer term here because I'm a big video game nerd, and I freely admit that. He team killed. Okay. He team killed. What he did to Jeb is end his career. Rubio is end his career. He doesn't realize it yet. But he came out, and he's the kind of psychopath that other psychopaths want to be when they grow up. And that's the kind of guy I can get behind. All right. All right. He came out and he just destroyed his own political. It was just scorched earth is the term. He didn't beat them. He destroyed them. All right. And then he got to the Democrats and he just destroyed them. In his wake, he had, and I'm going to use one of the EA's lines on this one. He had more fun than a tornado in a trailer park. Right. That's what he did. He left behind him a swath of destruction, perception-based destruction. I mean, he went after, and what he did was brilliant. He used himself as bait. He put himself out there and he let all the systems expose them. And as he did, he's making a list. Okay. And, for those of you that don't study history, I use this line on Dr. Janda's show, who I just had a tremendous time with. He's an amazing guy. But I said, it's almost like I've seen some of this happen before, but I couldn't understand it. And it was in black and white, and they were speaking German. Okay?
Exactly.
But the point of the story, though, is he scorched earth the two-party system. I had Fox News on earlier, and of course, it's fun to have the Evolution 4.0 system and the news on at the same time, because that's always good for entertainment. And what he did was they said, does the GOP need to be repaired? Does the Democrats need to be repaired? I was like, don't bother. What he did was intentional.
Yeah, what you just made me realize is that the nation just elected an independent party candidate who simply called himself Republican.
We said there's an addition. I probably should send it to you. There's an addition to Wirehouse where we said he's got two options. Option one is run as an independent and start his own third party. Okay. That's an option two. He runs as a Republican. What he did was really option one. He repurposed the GOP. He commandeered it.
Yes.
Okay. That was a hijacking, is what that was. He just and the thing that makes me laugh though is the fact that he picked Pence as a VP. And admittedly, we were wrong on that. We had no idea.
Yeah.
He picked Pence as a VP. I go, is there any better a troll of the right wing than to pick a guy like Pence and go, all right, there's your idiot. Now give me the money. Thank you. We won't be hearing from him for another 4 years. Goodbye, Mike. I called him the first. I said he's the first disposable VP candidate.
Yeah.
All right. But really, just moving forward, guys, the volatility now, if you're going to enact change from a social architecture or social engineering level, guys, you need chaos. And you look at the blowback and look at the protest last night. And of course, yours truly, I'm sitting there laughing my rear end off going, wow, you guys are just making it easy for me now. And you look at that kind of stuff. You need that chaos, because I got news for you. Both sides of the equation, I call it value meal voting. Okay. The left and the right. Spoiler alert, you heard it here first, folks. You're both obsolete. Both of those perceptions and those paradigms and those political parties of the value meal voting, that is not solutions oriented. That is BS oriented. That's what you want to hear. What Trump represents, and the reason I like him, even beyond what he's done politically, which is just absolutely vicious. And I've often wondered if there are people in other nations that have had leaders like him rise to power. Germany, that are going, oh, you thought it couldn't happen there? But the point of the story, though, is, the United States is being prepared to be integrated into a global financial order. All right. And I don't say that it's a bad thing, and I don't say that as a negative thing.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Is there any other topics you wanted to cover?
Trying to think of stuff that we've been talking about, like I said, because you watched my test of concept, or you watched the proof of concept phase. Other stuff that we forecasted. Japan pivoting east. Duterte, the guy in the Philippines, pivoting east. That was another one I bombed you with a couple of told you so's over.
Yes.
And it's just, and you asked me a great question. Says, Nick, do you ever get bored being right? I go, no, because that's my job. That is my job to know. So no, I don't get bored doing this, as you might imagine. I have a tremendous amount of fun doing this. But yes, this is probably, I've become very selective, shall we say, about the interviews that I'll do. And you made me smile ear to ear when you said, you had your podcast. I was like, wow, you're like my third Twitter follower from 2014. I was like, this is gonna be cool, man. But beyond that, I'm very selective in the interviews that I do.
Yeah.
Okay. And there's a reason for that. And that is, having done my 100 and some hours in alt news and such, is there is definitely a small portion of this planet and society, and I say this purely from a research perspective, that is going to either be able to or have the desire to adapt to the new system and look at it exactly like what it is, which is, this is exactly what's been needed. The other 90%, and I'm speaking in generalities and vacuities here for a reason, the other 90%, I have given up. Okay, there is just no point. And again, I built this system for top level corporate use. The dev team put their everything that they had into designing the system, and that's ultimately where we're going. But in terms of the public information sharing, can I promo before I forget to do this? I'm going to promo my own stuff.
Yes.
As you know, that's a signature of mine, by the way, forgetting to do that. It's if you guys are interested in any of the research, we have a couple of different things we offer. We have the Grant Street Notes, which is there's no subscription required. Those are standalone. You can pre-order the 2017 ones now. I advise you do that. The 2016 Metals Guide just proved to be freak show accurate. We have a Wirehouse, which is our deep level research stuff. We have some of the podcasts. They're not up yet, but they'll be up for 2017. And Switch and Signal, which is $25 a month, is our active trading journal. Proven fairly accurate. And I'm looking, it's kind of hard for me to say that today, looking at a 20% lumping on JNUG, but it's been, statistically, it's been fairly accurate. But so evolutionconsulting.world, I just thought it'd be cool to use .world because I get to sound like Jeremy Clarkson every time I say the domain name, in the world. But yes, do check it out. Follow us on Twitter at @Evo_consultants. Please do. Because we're still going to share some of the information publicly, but because of corporate agreements and NDAs that I've signed and stuff like that now, not so much.
Right.
All right.
My final question, do you have any idea what will become now of the Clintons and George Soros?
Why can we not? What I want to see one alt news show get through an interview without mentioning George Soros. That's my challenge. Okay? That is my challenge. First of all, did you forget what team he played for? How he made his fortune. I'm not going to get into that here, but for those of you that are feeling particularly motivated, go research how that man made his fortune before you lump him in with certain groups, shall we say. All right? First of all, what becomes of George Soros? He sits back and he makes more money. That's what becomes of him. All right? As for the Clintons, that's a group I wouldn't want to be.
Yeah.
That's a group I wouldn't want to be because I don't think they know what they played with. And I think she realized a little too late that she was set up like a punching bag for him. They needed somebody that represented, they needed somebody that could get him elected. Okay. And there's not, I had this conversation with the EA yesterday, by the way. She goes, Sanders would have beat him. I said, I know absolutely 100%. Bernie Sanders would have beat him. It would have been close. It would have been recount territory. But Bernie Sanders would have beat him. Okay, and I said she had the one opportunity to save her rear end, and it was at the DNC primary. The one thing that she could have done was one of two things: handed him the nomination, which she never would have done, or made him the VP nomination. Now, that ticket would have won. But she did. That was the point of no return for her in a bad way. What's going to become of her is, I think, an example of what the new management team is about. I can't help it. I don't like to use entertainment analogies, but if you guys watch The Walking Dead, I can only think of Eeny, Meeny, Miny, Mo with Negan in the bat with the barbed wire. Okay? If you're going to assert yourself, you're going to splatter some brains out all over the place as, okay, we got any other heroes around here? All right? And that's really what I think is coming, is that it's not – people often talk about the New World Order, and they associate, obviously, the name Soros with the New World Order. What's happening now, guys, and talk about the new management team, is the newer world order. Okay? And it's going to make the original, I guess, if you want to call it the much talked about in alt news, it's going to make them seem compassionate.
Right.
Okay? So, but what becomes of the Clintons? I have a funny suspicion that they're the chosen, that's the the whipping people, if you will, of what's coming. All right, this is how we're going to do it. And that's what happens if you get in the way of it. So I would not particularly want to be them.
Right.
Okay. Guys like Soros, though, and guys like Carl Icahn and Warren Buffett, you know what they do? They do what they always do. They make money off of this because they're smart enough to remain 3 steps removed from it.
Right.
Okay. And to me, I'll just add this here real quick to me, because I know there's one of our customers that are listening now that ask me daily about this stuff. All right. Soros just controls the idiots on the other side. That's what he does. Your MoveOn.org and your yellow signs with the black print. No, it's another Soros funded. His job is to get as many idiots in harm's way as humanly possible. Okay. And why don't you take a look at what the Trump movement did? You got vehement right wingers and you got your left wingers, and at the end of the day, there it is. Okay. I don't know how to put that any other way. And now, hey, maybe now you know why I wasn't the most popular guy in alt news.
Aw.
Emotion once.
All right. Well, this has been fun, and it's gone by very fast. We did a 40-minute show, and I thank you for your time, Nick. Is there anything else you want
Well,
to
thank you for
say?
having me on. No,
Well, this
absolutely
was
not.
great.
Other than a very sincere thank you for having me on. It's cool. Like I said, you were like Twitter follower number 3. And it's, again, seriously, thank you for having me on. And hopefully, some of the stuff I shared here, when you listen to the other,
Yeah.
voices and alt news, whatever the case may be, just, there's a guy that chain smokes and wears questionable fashion out there somewhere that's been proven right enough time. Just,
That's the
keep
other
in mind
thing.
some of the stuff I said.
Bring back the Hawaiian shirts.
Bring back the whole that we're I've seen an article. I'll have you know. I'll leave this on a humorous note. I've seen an article, by the way, and the EA wanted to kind of facepalm. I said, the thing is, I'm so ahead of my time. I'm already in fashion for the next fashion cycle. And I saw a Wall Street Journal article reporting that Hawaiian shirts are back in fashion. I said, see, we trend set as much as we trend forecast. But yes,
Right.
no, the Hawaiian shirts, they have not gone away. It is kind of chilly in Western PA, but they will be back very soon, probably for a vacation that's upcoming, which is much needed and much earned. So, yep,
Yes.
Hawaiian shirts, margaritas, gin, and Marlboro Black.
All right.
That's what fuels our team. But Deb, seriously, thank you for having me on. It was awesome.
You're well. This was great. I'll be in touch with you later. Okay. That's it,
Fantastic.
guys. Thank you very much for the show.